Today we're going to be talking about no-harm deterrent methods when it comes to gardening, something that's often overlooked in the gardening industry. So before we get started, hit like if you think that no-harm methods should be talked about more.
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. While we talk about it, we're going to be building a fence around this root bed.
That's why I want to hit the like button.
Okay. Nasa wants to hit the like button because she thinks we should talk about it more. So today, while we build this fence around our root bed to keep out rabbits, we're going to be talking about how to deter pests without harming or killing them. Okay, so first things first, when we are talking about preventing or deterring pests from our gardens, what we're referring to are not just bugs, but also large animals are considered pests, garden pests, such as rabbits, deer, squirrels, birds, anything that's going to eat up your crop. Of course, bugs are also considered pests, and that's a trickier subject, but something that we're going to be talking about today as well. Okay, so first thing we want to talk about when we're talking about preventing or deterring or eventually killing pests, if it comes to that, which sometimes it does, especially indoor gardens where you have an operation inside your house and you can't really afford to have bugs overtake your entire house. But we'll get to that later, the killing methods that are less harm, and things that we can do to prevent harm as much as possible, even to bugs. But first we're going to be talking about preventing them from even getting in the garden in the first place, even flocking to the garden. So when it comes to pests that do not infest, such as like rabbits or deer, they're not gonna be breeding in your garden. First thing that we want to do is prevent them from approaching the garden. So some things that we can do are like us in this video building this fence. Another thing that can be done is to place smells that they don't like. So you have to, sit with your garden for a year or a couple years to know which animals are attracted to your garden, and also to know which plants might be attractive to those animals. And then you have to place things around the garden that are going to keep those animals out. And as far as large animals, it pretty much ends there. We're not going to be killing animals to protect our garden when there's things that can be done other than killing them. And injuring them is also not in the books for us. So things such as smells or colors can prevent them from wanting to get into your garden. So that's what we're doing. Also, of course, fences like we're doing in this video. And it can be done for super cheap. So as far as this fence, we're just using patio fencing, and we got it cut at Lowe's, and then we're hammering nails into some posts that we're digging out in the corners. As far as our garden in general, we tend to do everything as cheaply as possible because we're trying to save money on food as well as learning how to garden. But the main priority right now is saving money on food. Since we are putting money into the garden, we want to basically spend as little and grow as much as possible. And deterrent can be done super cheap, so don't let the fear of spending a lot of money get in the way of your ethics and morals, because you probably won't be spending a lot of money, and the kill methods are usually just as expensive, if not more expensive, than the deterrent methods. Not to mention the fact that when you end up killing things with chemicals and stuff, you run the risk of destroying your crop as well in the process. So it's not worth it in the long run, even if you don't consider killing bugs a big deal. Now, in this video, we're not going to be giving a bunch of specific methods to deterrent or killing, but we are going to be doing a brief overview. The reason we're not going into specifics is because there's tons of videos out there on YouTube already, and we don't consider ourselves supreme experts on the topic, so we'll let you go research more on that. Just take the overview that we're giving and run with it in your research on YouTube or elsewhere on the internet or in books if you still research with books. What we do want to impress upon you in this video, however, is the fact that it can be done with less harm than it is done today usually. And the less harm, the better. So we'll move on now from prevention and deterrence. As far as the initial prevention and deterrent, such as putting like certain colors around your crop, or certain smells, or even noises if it goes that far. But next is late stage deterrence, which this is when you start using and seeing more chemicals used. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I would suggest that you use more organic chemicals, which there are, or homeopathic, I don't know the exact word, but home-based chemicals, like stuff you would find in your cabinets. There's tons of practices that you can do with those with those sources, rather than going to the store and buying like a ant killer or wasp killer, or like any type of bug killer. It's unnecessary. You can even find what they are searching for if it's not your crop, because oftentimes it is not, and you can rid that from your garden, and all of a sudden you have a pest-free garden without having to have used any killer or anything like that, or even chemical-based deterrents. Now, when we're referring to late-stage deterrents, we're talking about the time when you already have either an infestation of bugs, or you have, bugs or animals eating your crop already. Not before it might happen based on previous year's experience or just research that you've done, but when you actually have physical bugs in your garden, or rabbits, or whatever you have. Next, we're going to be moving on to kill methods, which sometimes is necessary, especially if you're gardening indoors, or if you're gardening in close proximity to other people's houses. You don't want to be attracting millions of bugs and just letting them fester. However, there is a way to do it as humanely as possible, and you can research different chemicals, and essentially what we do is we look what the chemicals do to the actual animals or bugs, and you see if you would be willing to do that to a living being, whether it's a bug or not. Some of them, like, they slice the skin and put poison into their veins or into their bodies, and then kill them slowly from the inside out. And that's just not something that I'm comfortable with. If it came to it where that's the only thing that you could use, I guess I would use it if it were a matter of infestation in my house that's dangerous, or getting rid of them. However, there's so many other products that you can use other than things that are super painful and slow killers, that it's really unnecessary to use something like that. And it's almost just like sadistic if you're doing it on purpose, because, I mean, I'm sure people do that. They're like, oh, we want to kill these bugs and we want to hurt them. So if you're looking to do things humanely and as no harm as possible, definitely avoid things that would do something to the animal that you wouldn't want done to yourself. And that's like the golden rule. That's basically what we're concentrating on here. And what you want to do after you have to use a kill method, you're going to want to plan for the future, because if you had one infestation, it's very likely you'll have that again, even if you use a kill method. So what you want to do is then do your best to prevent another infestation in the future, so you don't have to rely on the killing method, because it's never no pain entirely. It can be done as less pain as possible, but if you are being ethical about it, you're probably not going to want to be delivering a entire colony of poison every single time they venture into your garden. You want to try to keep them from the garden in the first place. Something that we use in our own garden is neem oil, NEEM oil. It's a plant-based oil, and it essentially, not only does it kill pests if it comes to that, it also deters them from coming back because of the smell. And it first warns them, first thing they want to do is get away from it because of the smell. Then if they ingest it, that's when it kills them. It also, you can spray it on overwintered eggs, and it will keep them from hatching and essentially kill them before they become a full-on bug that you then have a real problem with. So that's our current solution as far as a kill method, though we're always looking to improve. If there was something that could be even better at deterring without killing, as far as very late stage, then that's something we would use too. And one last thing to touch on before we go to our last point is that you want to be constantly having an eye on your garden, because if the infestation gets out of hand, sometimes it does take killing an entire colony, which could have been prevented if you would have noticed the first few invaders. Before we move on to the final method, hit like if it bothers you to destroy entire colonies of animals with kill methods, and if you think that this topic should be talked about more so that better solutions can be brought about. Now, this final method is actually going to be presented in two parts. It's more things that you can do with your mind. First being that for those of you out there that like to invent things and discover things, you could always invent something that is a better deterrent than what's on the market right now. And then the second part is that you can talk about it in your circles. Talk about deterrent methods and the fact that you don't want to kill things in your garden. And you never know who might have had a grandparent who gardened, or a parent who gardened, or who they themselves might know of a method that can get rid of your garden pests without killing them and without harming them. And by doing so, you just may uncover a long-lost solution to garden pests that can benefit us all. Now, last but not least, I do want to mention that it's definitely not something that I think is an easy solution, an easy fix for preventing garden pests, because the entire industry is mostly based on killing pests when they arise. However, in recent years, it's become more and more apparent that people want, now that they're aware of what those products do, they want alternate solutions. So it's not something solved overnight, but it is something that's worth working on. And I appreciate you all sticking around until the end of this video. It gives me hope for a no-harm future, and I hope I've shown you some things that you can do to prevent garden pests in a more humane and no-harm fashion. Hopefully this fence works this year. If not, we'll add some netting on there and on top. And if not, then we'll have to build up higher next season. But it was nice making this fence. Hopefully it keeps the rabbits out. We aren't going to end up shooting rabbits or poisoning them. So it's basically keep them out where they have our vegetables. So that gives us more incentive to keep them out. If you made it this far, check out our other content on our channel. And if you like what you see, make sure to hit subscribe, turn notifications to all. You like it? You want to subscribe to the channel?
Yeah.
Subscribe and be a subscriber with NASA. And stick around for more videos from Happiness Factory Gardens. Nancy, you want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye.